Hi and welcome to today's live event. Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about something that is very close to me and I've worked with a lot of times, stream processing, especially Kafka and all the problems that you usually get with debugging it, with building pipelines with it, Kafka replication and so on. And today I have a guest. I have Drew from Lenses.io here, and Drew knows this inside and out. So let's bring him in. Hey, Drew.
Hi, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Welcome. Yeah, streaming is one of these topics that really is important right now, right?
Yeah, everything is everything is, needs to be live. Everything needs to be we need to react live to everything. That's everybody's touch phrase. Like, I don't have time for it to filter down into the data lake and then react to it. I need to react to it now, especially a lot of financial and transactional stuff, but anything, the slow is the new down has been the moniker of all kinds of different aspects of the tech world. So, yeah, streaming data and interacting with it while it's still streaming has definitely been a very hot topic here of late.
And also, I did a post, no, not last week, yesterday evening with a poll on LinkedIn and asked what are the biggest problems for it. A lot of people said debugging is one of the big things and expense, because if it can be expensive, but I think debugging was the biggest one for people actually
Yeah,
struggling with.
it's debugging is the number one thing, especially for something like Apache Kafka. It by itself, it's pretty much a black box. It's not designed for human eyes to peer into it. It's just designed for producers and consumers to do their thing, produce and consume. But yeah, they never built a lot of friendly ways to look into the data or interact with the data while it's still flowing kind of through Kafka itself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That was, I remember, that was always the big problem.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so this is where lenses comes in, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Lenses is kind of built around the idea of um, developers need a safe and easy way to like peer into their Kafka data. There's probably, in any big organization, there might be a couple of people that are good with the Kafka CLI, or, can, write a quick, consumer, maybe, on the fly to go and, gather a group of data. But for the most part, um they wind up in these like kind of interminable back and forth with their platform team. So
mm,
they there's something they want to see within Kafka, and so they file a ticket with the platform team. Then the platform team goes in and maybe runs the CLI. Maybe they're okay with the CLI, that they don't do it all the time. And then then they finally send the lump of data back. That could take a couple of days,
mm,
for and if you're developing something, you just want to get some information. That's especially frustrating. But if you're troubleshooting, if something is down, you don't have that kind of time. So
yeah,
yeah, that's the idea behind Lenses. Absolutely. The original idea. There's been a lot more in the
okay.
area.
So why do you think Kafka, especially, why is that so much used in this space?
Um, because it's funny. Kafka's been around since like 2011, but it's really has really matured and grown as more and more people need to move data from process to process, from department to department. And it's just become a really great way to publish different feeds from all. You've got you got 20 microservices, 100 microservices, what have you. And if you're going to try to connect them to Splunk for security, and connect them to Grafana for for your developers to look at. And then you're also going to need it to write a transaction log, so you're all the different things that it has to, and then you're going to try to manage 20 different microservices doing all 20 of, that becomes that's 3 connections, so that's 60 connections you suddenly have to take care of. Or you can just have it all send to Kafka,
Mm.
and then so you get rid of the spaghetti, the spaghetti connections on your chart. Everything just flows nicely through Kafka, which will replicate it for you. It will keep track of it for you. So yeah, I mean, that's been the original benefit of Kafka, and Kafka streaming. It's, if you need something a little bit more than a message queue, it's kind of nice, a nice utility tool for getting data from one end to the other, um,
Yeah.
but in a safe and secure way.
Yeah. I always liked the thing that, or the fact that when you had processing then in the back and that processing had problems, you could actually use it as a buffer, right? The data doesn't get
Yes. Yeah.
lost. You can
Yeah.
just continue where you left off. Yes, you
Yeah.
then have a bit of a lag in the consumer and you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a little bit of a database. It's a little bit of a streaming thing. Yeah, it's kind of a nice hybrid combination of those two. So if something does go wrong, Kafka will hold your data for you. Or if things start getting really busy, it can be a very nice buffer to, while you either spin up more consumers to help catch up, or yeah,
Mm.
there's a bunch of nice built-in functionality that makes it kind of ideal for moving big massive amounts of data around. One thing you mentioned was the the thing with Kafka is it is complex to run, so a lot of people wind up with some kind of managed Kafka, and that can be expensive. So that
Mm.
is definitely, yeah, that's probably where the expense comments came in. So
Yeah.
all right, so lenses is specifically designed for developers. A lot of times people ask us, like, well, what's the difference between lenses and like Confluence UI? Well, Confluence UI is really about platform teams. Like, is Kafka up? Does it have enough disk space? What kind of memory is it using?
Mm.
The kind of stuff that platform teams tend to care about.
Yeah.
That is what that's what their UIs tend to be. Lenses is specifically designed around a developer and a developer experience. So a lot of times developers have they don't need, like, forget about them having access to Kafka. They don't have access to the Kubernetes that Kafka's even running in.
Yeah.
If they want to look at something in prod, that's a no go on an individual developer level. So lenses is designed, like, that's the reason why it's called lenses. It's designed to be a safe, secure lens for people to see their data, maybe even flowing through prod. So that's the idea behind it.
But that's a good point, because I remember, like, when we started out with Kafka, it was basically a combination on top of Cloudera back in the day. And
Yeah.
the only thing that you had was basically, okay, now I have information about the infrastructure itself, right? But
Yeah.
nothing actually what happens. And that is
Yeah.
always terrible from the point of view of somebody who's actually want to work with the data.
Yeah. Yeah. If I've got a consumer that crashed, I don't, it's great to know that all the brokers are up and that they're healthy. That's great. But that's not going to help me figure out why this consumer crashed. It's not going to help me, maybe go in and reset the offsets for on this consumer. So just to be clear, in case somebody's a little bit new to Kafka, an offset, each event that flows through Kafka has what's called an offset, and that's kind of the number of the event. And consumer Kafka keeps track of which events it's sent to your consuming application. But when they crash, you might need to move it forward. You might need to readjust where it was in, eating the data out of Kafka. And so that's what we mean by consumer offsets, just in case. I don't want to get too jargony accidentally. So
I mean, I don't want to reach out too much about what we're going to talk about, but that is That's usually that was the problem. Like from a infrastructure standpoint, everything looks fine. Oh, everything's running, and then an hour later, people say there's no data. Like what's happening?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And what happens a lot of times too is like things get like streaming can get really complex. So, you'll have a topic and then you'll have a consumer that will consume that topic, but they'll also produce a secondary topic. So, when the consumer does it thing, it might actually spit out another Kafka topic at the end. And so, the you're working on the consumer in the middle, but somebody else could be working on a consumer downstream, and you're like, they're calling you and they're saying, hey, where'd my data go? And so you need to be able to go in there and probably troubleshoot, see the data, and maybe update the consumer as well. But
Mm.
another thing we see a lot is what I call data discovery. Um, so that is where if you I've been given you're a developer and like I need you to write a new application that looks for luggage that's been lost and alerts our customers. You're at an airline, you work in the customer service department, and you need to find like, okay, I need you to write an application that's going to alert all of our platinum and above members that their luggage is lost, and we're gonna be nice to them and let them know while they're still flying. So you might be able to go look at a data catalog, and that might give you some idea about the luggage data, but it'd be really nice to be able to just go into lenses, search for luggage in your topics, drill down into those topics, take a look at the luggage data, and be able to start to map out your new application that way. So
Mm.
there's troubleshooting and there's the data discovery aspect of it as well. So
Cool.
um so yeah, that's kind of the two main big ideas behind lenses and data discovery, developer empowerment, as well as good old fashioned troubleshooting, good old fashioned. It worked on my laptop, it worked in dev. Why is it crashing in staging? The perennial question. So
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to show something else on the slides or?
yeah, I can
No?
move it a couple more slides. Sure. So
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, I get to yakking. So this
No,
is
no,
kind of
no. It's fine.
all right, good. This is how the product actually works. So, you have your Kafka sitting down here, your streaming fabric, and then Lenses is going to sit on top of it. One thing that, if you've worked with certain Kafka UIs, particularly there are some halfway decent open source Kafka UIs. It tends to be one to one. So for every Kafka cluster, you have to run another copy of that UI. So the one thing that Lenses is really proud to be able to do now is have all of your Kafka clusters in one single. I hate to use the term, but it's pane of glass. But yeah, so you can have all of your Kafka clusters kind of visible from within one location.
Mhm.
So and it looks something like this. So this is all a bunch of different Kafka clusters. You can browse them here. That they're gonna get cataloged for you. You can even search over them, and just be able to see them all in one spot. You don't have to go to 10 different URLs,
Mhm.
to see all of your different Kafka
How
clusters.
how difficult is this then to, let's say, register a Kafka cluster in this?
So it's not super difficult. We work with, Lenses runs in a container. Lenses runs on a VM. We have Helm charts for you. We even have Docker setups for you.
Mhm.
So you can wherever you need to run it. We can, we've got the things to help you get that going. HQ. There's two parts to Lenses. There's the part we call HQ, which is the headquarters, as the name would imply.
Mhm.
That's kind of the control plane. And then you want to have what's called a lenses agent. And that's the process that's going to run as close as possible to your actual Kafka cluster. So
Mm.
HQ can be in your, your Bastion cluster, or, just in running on a VM, or, somewhere within your infrastructure. And then the actual agent needs to go wherever the Kafka cluster actually is. So,
Interesting. Interesting. I'd like to bring in a question.
oh, please.
I'd like to bring in a question. Let me bring this, because this is the typical thing. Sounds like Lens is simplifying logging in into a jump host and querying Kafka messages directly in a broker. I mean, this is just one of the things, but I feel like this is something that we used to do, or used to have to do, this kind of annoying stuff, right?
Yeah, lenses is, I mean, it's a fancy jump host. Like,
It's I mean, this is just one part, but I
yeah,
really found this funny, because this is one of the things
yeah.
we
No,
always had to do.
you're not wrong. That is the overall format. Like, HQ is your Bastion host, and it's your pathway into your various lenses clusters. Absolutely. Lenses managed clusters. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, So let me just show a little bit more of the actual product. I'm going to come over here to our topics view. Let me just reset this. So this was our environments view. This is our topics view, and this is, again, you'll see this is a there's a lot of different topics here, because we've got 10 clusters all connected up in our demo environment here. But this is kind of the data discovery bit I was talking about earlier, where you can come in here. I'm that poor developer that works for customer service at, Lens Airlines, or, United Airlines, or whatever. I can come in here and I can search for luggage, and it's going to bring up all the different topics that have luggage in the name of the topic. But it'll also, if I toggle this, it'll also bring up the schemas. So you can see we've got luggage ID, we got luggage situation. So this might be a topic of interest to me when I'm building out my particular application. It can be useful for other things too. Like, I want to find things with location data, so I can search for longitude, and it'll bring up topics that happen to have location data. So, it's designed to allow you to kind of quickly and easily get a good look at your data and what's kind of flowing through all your various different Kafka pipes.
I like how simple this looks, but when you know how difficult a thing like this usually is,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Well,
finding out the topics, you can't do that. With a bit of annoying work, but then, like, what's the actual data in them? Oof.
yeah, being able to search the schema as well. No, yeah, it can be really, really helpful for developers. And uh, they're not our primary target, but platform teams like it too. We have data scientists that actually use lenses. Data scientists are actually moving out of the lake and into the streams even more these days. So
Mm.
we do have some of our customers that have turned on their data scientists to actually work with lenses. So they want to be more reactive in real time. They can come in and make queries and view the data, before it hits the lake, um, so to
Yeah.
speak, or the swamp.
Yeah, but I mean, but it makes sense, because as a scientist, you're not only creating the models, very often you're also trying to bring them into production, right? And production usually has some sort of a streaming or a real time element.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, let me show you our SQL Studio here. So this is the airline luggage SQL Studio. Well, we're viewing the airline luggage topic in our SQL Studio. So Lenses allows you to use SQL to query data that is currently running, or currently, sitting within your Kafka clusters. So If you are, if you want to, in our case here, you're the developer. I need to write an application that's going to alert people about their lost luggage. I can use this SQL Studio to actually, take a look at what the data is going to look like. So I can see, I can see how it's going to look, actually live within the cluster. So here I'm looking at EU production. So this is the actual production data. Now I'm logged in as admin, so I have full rights, full application, but Lenses does have role-based access control. So,
Mm.
maybe that, you might not allow somebody to actually see your prod data necessarily, but I didn't have to log into the prod cluster. I don't like there is an underlying Kafka here. I have no access to that
Mm.
person. They don't let me into Argo CD or Kubernetes.
But I mean, it also makes sense from a team's perspective, right? You have this as the one, let's say, tool on the top, and then you have multiple teams using it, and they have their own Kafka clusters, their own topics, and there's no
Absolutely, absolutely,
cross usage.
yeah, and you might have, these, you might be working, you might be here in the US, but you might, this would allow you to maybe take a look at data that might be EU clusters or UK clusters, things like that, or other various departments that you might not have. Like we've had customers that have said we've made when we before we had Lenses, we found like three different copies of certain topics because people kept recreating topics because they didn't know they already existed someplace else.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the kind of discovery that we're talking about at the most basic level.
Mm.
And then go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Scott.
Yes,
No, no,
so many
no.
questions.
Yeah, hit
Um,
me.
so how, when I look at that SQL statement, that looks to me like, okay, you're basically querying here 100 messages from the current offset.
Yeah, we're actually
Right?
this is kind of a overkill. Yeah, we're doing we're doing 100 messages uh, from a total of 100 messages. But we're doing the top 10 from each
Okay.
partition.
But
So
okay, so that means Lenses is going to, because I'm always thinking like, how can you actually look into the Kafka data, right? And that's because this is taking the messages out of Kafka and then displaying them here.
yes. So the way this works, and I'm glad you asked. The way this works is uh, Lenses isn't copying your data into a database or anything like that. Lenses is actually acting as a consumer of this particular topic and pulling the data as a consumer would.
Mm.
So what it is doing is literally just being a consumer and then pulling your data, from the topic, and pulling, depending on how many uh, how many replication you have. It's going to pull a different amount, but that's what it's doing. It's just acting as a consumer, pulling. If you have 10 partitions, it would pull. Based on these limitations, it would pull 10 events from all 10 of your partitions.
Mm.
So because that would get it up to 100. Now, one thing SQL Studio is designed for is for doing troubleshooting, doing data discovery, um, things of that nature. So, the idea is my consumer crashed on offset number 750. I can come in here to SQL Studio and say, show me offset number 740 to 760s. I can see the events around the problem, maybe go identify a poison pill, things of that nature. And that's what SQL Studio is designed for. It's backwards looking. You're looking at data that's already in Lenses. We
Mm.
have a different kind of SQL a stream processor as well, that works a little bit differently.
Mm. Okay, but
Uh,
that makes sense. I mean, for there is a problem, and I want to see where this comes from.
yeah.
actually being able to look into the data, that helps very often a lot. And
Yes.
especially if you, like you said, if you're just a data scientist and you see your application always crashes and they have access to here and they don't need to get to an engineer and ask like what does the data look like and what's wrong, they can actually see here, okay, that was in these messages and there is
Yeah.
missing data because the producer didn't produce it.
What we I had a data scientist uh, talk to me about the about the process she used before lenses. So this is at a big bank. I'm not naming any names. And so if she needed to see streaming data, she would file a ticket. That ticket would first go to the Kafka expert. The Kafka expert would write the CLI command to fetch the data, and then he would forward that CLI command to a platform team person who had access to the cluster. So,
This.
um, yeah,
No.
yeah, that was her process before lenses. So
Okay.
yeah, that we're trying to eliminate that. We're trying to give people easy visibility into this.
Yeah.
So
I quickly want to ask the chat, like, who is here? Because there are a few people in the chat. I see from this browser here, I only see YouTube, but also I know LinkedIn as well are usually a few people. You know, if you know what we're talking about here, just put a one in the chat. I want to see people who actually struggled with exactly the things that we are talking about here. That would be very interesting. Yeah, sorry.
no, yeah, that's great. That's great. Um,
So, okay. Where were we? This. What else do we want to look at?
okay, so this is SQL Studio. You can have different clusters side by side. That's cool. I want to talk about something else that we have. And I'm sorry, this is a sea of SQL on the screen here. Um, but this is something we have called a SQL processor. So SQL Studio is for troubleshooting. It's for data discovery, that kind of thing. SQL Processor is a product of Lenses that allows you to actually. It's like Kafka Streams. It allows you to modify your data, create brand new topics, merge two topics together, filter a topic, dedupe a topic, do all different kinds of operations. And so basically what it will do is you can take like so this looks really here, let me there, this looks better. Sorry. This looks really complicated, but it's been well documented here. So what we're doing here is we're taking security data and we're running some statistical operations on it, and then we're kind of boiling it down and then sending it out to a an hourly topic. So you've got this really noisy topic of security data, which is full of good things and bad things. Like if you've ever looked at security data, there's 100 of so and so successfully connected, so and so, all these different things that are just normal good things that happen. So what we're doing here is we're filtering down on failed attempts, the average risk score of the actual transaction that happened, and the number of IP addresses that they tried to connect to. So we're basically taking a very noisy topic, and then we're boiling it down into a much more concise topic. So if you wanted to then feed this concise topic to your security system that charges per megabyte, this would be a very handy way to actually bring your topic down into something much more much smaller, and you get rid of all the anodyne things that didn't matter. so
Hmm.
so this is what we call a SQL processor. SQL processors look forward, so they'll take your data as it's coming in and they'll run forever, a little bit like Flink, but not exactly. It doesn't require its own cluster. It doesn't require all the overhead of Flink. But it is a separate process from lenses. So
Okay. That would be the next thing I would ask, like, where does this actually run? Because you need processing power for this.
yes,
This needs to
so
run
this
somewhere.
runs in Kubernetes. It is a separate Docker image. You see here, Docker image lenses SQL
Mm.
processor. It's completely separate. You can configure the number of pods. You can configure the memory and the CPU requests. Typical Kubernetes stuff. So this and lenses could do one of two things for you here. It could just deploy it to Kubernetes if you so allow. Or it could generate a YAML and then Argo CD can deploy it to Kubernetes for you. So there's either one of those is your options here. So but these are a separate, completely separate. They spawn up separate from lenses altogether. They run in Kubernetes like any other Kubernetes workload.
Okay. And so you can you go back? Yeah. Okay. So you can actually get the data directly. I mean, if it's quite structured, of course, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So one thing that lenses is really is we're very kind. So we also offer a schema registry, so you can well, we don't offer the schema registry. We offer you visibility into the schema registry. So
Mhm.
a lot of Kafka streams have things like Avro or Protobuf that are the actual schema that are defined as part of a part of the stream process. But uh, we also are perfectly fine with JSON schemas. So uh, JSON schemas are not ideal. They're not perfect if in the Kafka world, but we will work with those as well. We'll work with, even we work with XML, and there's still some good old XML out there as a Kafka schema. So, but yes, so for something like SQL Studio, you do want, it does work best, with very, very categorical data and
Mm.
things of that nature. So yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, that's what most people do, right? You mentioned Flink, but what kind of stuff are they doing? They're doing that kind of stuff. They're
Yes.
trying
Yeah.
to
Yes.
join different topics. They're trying to filter out stuff that you don't need. They're trying to make pre-calculations for then getting it into a database. And
Absolutely.
why would you
Absolutely.
then add another tool on top of it if you can have everything in one place? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. And, no disrespect to Flink. I'm not a fan of squirrels. Squirrels ruin my garden, but no disrespect to Flink. It does do things. There's things Flink can do that, SQL processors can't. So,
mm,
but yeah, it is definitely. And the nice thing is you can stand these up and test them out in dev very easily with lenses and see how it works, see if you like it very quickly, and then maybe use Flink in production. Like we absolutely have a couple of customers that will then turn around and actually use Flink in production and for this kind of processing. So
mm,
it's a nice way to give these kind of quick and easy tools to developers to build out their own data flows.
yeah, nice.
I wanted to just kind of talk about. So this is what we envision as the engineering data flow. So we've kind of seen a little bit of this: find data, explore data, prepare it for consumption. But some other things that we also allow you to manage through lenses is we allow you to manage connectors. So there's so many connectors out there. They're usually managed through this thing called Kafka Connect. There's a couple of other ones as well. And so you can use lenses actually to go in and interact with your connectors um, very quickly and easily. Um, There we go. So you can come in here, you can see the various connectors, and they have this one actually has some problems. But yeah, so lenses allows you, it's the same kind of visual interface for connectors as well. So you can, if you've got, after your SQL processor writes it, maybe eventually you want to send it off to S3 or something like that. You can come in and configure the S3 connector, and build out your entire process end to end very easily from lenses. With a you can build it out in dev without ever really having to file a ticket, and then you can just file your ticket and say, look at this thing I built in dev. Now hey, platform team, go make it happen in prod. So
that would mean for you mentioned in the beginning this app where you get the information to the passengers that their luggage has been lost.
yes,
You could add a connector here where you're storing that information as a document, for instance, into MongoDB or something, and then use that.
absolutely. So
Ah,
this is our topology view here. So we have our customer directory app that creates our airline customer topic. And then we're going to add, we're going to use this processor here to add their loyalty program. So this program is only for gold and platinum or whatever. You know how airlines like to do things like that. And so then that's going to create that, which then feeds into the deduplicator. And you can eventually get down here to different databases that you want to dump it into, different connectors that you want to feed it into. Absolutely, yeah. So, and you can see all of this topology within within your lenses topology view. This is particularly handy. Whoops. You can kind of see the overall, and things can get really complicated. We've got orders coming in here from Expedia, things like that. um, the nice thing about the topology view is, if you're onboarding a new developer, it's easy for them to get a nice visualization of the data flow. Or if this particular consumer dies, well, I know I need to notify this team, and I know I need to notify this team, and I need to notify, I can tell all the people that I might need to let know that
yeah.
there's a problem on the way. So
Yeah, of course, because when you do more than just send data from A to B, but when you start processing it, then you need to have something like this. Otherwise,
absolutely.
you like after 2 3 steps, nobody knows what exactly is happening here.
Yes, yeah, they
But
don't.
can you quickly go back into
Absolutely.
the topology? So
Yeah,
these, let me, can you make it a bit bigger?
certainly. Whoop. It's hard with
So
my touchpad. Yeah.
so that means that with the bolt here, that is some kind of a processing
This
to the
is
right,
a
and that is Kafka here.
yeah. So this is a producer. This is an application. This little thing here, that little symbol means application, is creating this topic, which is then feeding. This is a SQL processor.
Okay,
That's so,
okay.
and then this is another downstream application, which is itself a producer. So, these things keep going through all the way through your
Yeah.
infrastructure, and then fed into more processors, etc.
Okay, nice. I get it.
Yeah.
And you also have an overview of the messages that are coming in.
Yeah. So they'll give you, you get a little bit of information about the health of the particular topic or thing that you're clicking on. Uh, so you can actually see things as they're being processed. You get an idea of what's going on. Absolutely.
Okay, nice. I really like this. This is awesome.
Okay.
Is this also kind of a, because we could argue that you also see kind of the lineage here,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's absolutely the idea here. And I we need to work. This is an area that we're going to be developing soon with even because lineage is becoming really really important. So in upcoming versions of lenses, we're even going to be improving this topology view more to make lineage part of the idea of lineage much more part of this process as
Mm.
well, because you know, as you know, streaming and lineage becomes even more important, as we start to stream data into AIs and things of that nature, where did this data come from? Like, why is this AI screwing up so badly? Where did this data come from? That kind of lineage question is going to become top of mind. So yeah, that's definitely going to be um, a hot topic,
Hmm.
pun intended. So
Um, there
I
was
want
one, yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
there was one question. I think that person, like, can we quickly, because we're 45 minutes in, can we
Yeah.
quickly, for somebody who joined, like, talk about quickly the setup again? Like, how does Lenses work? Because somebody asked here, Lenses hosts the infrastructure for Kafka Connect, or is it a UI that connects to the underlying connector to make changes to it? I think we,
Yeah, so Lenses lives separate from your Kafka infrastructure. You run Kafka, and Lenses works with any Kafka. So as long as it speaks the Kafka API, Lenses will work with it. Red Panda, Confluent, Strimzy, open source, whatever. Same thing for Kafka Connect. We work with a couple of different versions. I know we work with the main Kafka Connect cluster. And then for schema registry, you run the schema registry. We're the UI sitting on top of it. So yeah, that's all you. So we work with Confluent Schema Registry, Glue, and probably some other ones too. Check our webpage.
mm,
I need to. I don't have all those on the top of my head, but yeah, Lenses is a management layer that sits above it all. And you can swap out. We have one of our big customers is currently moving from Confluent on-prem to a cloud solution. Um, and so they're keeping Lenses along the way, all the way through that particular migration.
mm. I mean, it makes sense also from a standpoint of like companies don't want to get too much vendor lock-in, right? So they can still have control over what Kafka are we deploying, where are we deploying it, but they can use the all the features that you just shown.
Yeah, and there's a lot of companies that have very fragmented IT. Like I've worked with multiple customers that have one department that went with Confluent and another department that went with AWS MSK. And they're all under the same company banner, but they were completely different divisions. And so, they wind up with these very hybrid situations.
Mm,
And that's the other thing that Lenses is built around, is that we want to get all of your Kafka infrastructure in one single place for you to be able to interact with and make available. Like there might be stuff, maybe one department that's all in on MSK and the other department's all in on Confluent. There's probably stuff in each other's clusters that could make their lives easier or enrich their particular projects that they're working on. So something that allows them to be able to browse over there and see that other data can be really handy for particularly when we're going to start to build things like AI agents. Like your AI airline agent is going to need to be able to track your luggage and know your status and remember that you hate middle seats and you only want window seat. All the different data flows that are flowing through an airline that a human agent might have 5 screens open to be
mm,
able to gather all that up together. Yet the AI agent is going to need to be streaming that data into its brain from across the enterprise as well. So
yeah. I saw that with a like a few weeks ago where we had a demo on like had nothing to do with streaming, but like the power of agents, where the agents actually can reach out to the other platforms and can get the information back, right? And that is a big thing.
absolutely, and that is definitely something we are working on at Lenses, where we have in beta right now, different Lenses based agents, but we're also working on the MCP layer for Lenses, such that you could have, I don't know, you could have like a ServiceNow agent that needed to look up something in Kafka Stream. It could, that agent could use lenses MCP to actually query Kafka using lenses. So yeah, that's definitely where we're going.
Mm.
Absolutely. So
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, AI comes in everywhere, and it makes sense to
yes.
bring this in here too.
Yeah, and one reason I'm excited and happy to be working for Lenses is AI adjacent because of Kafka, but it is not pure AI. So
Mm.
it's kind of the best of both worlds. So
Yeah. There's a question. I'm not sure how to take this because I'm not the big edge computing guy.
uh-huh.
But there's a question like, what role do you think lenses uh, will play in the rise of edge computing and decentralized data pipelines?
So we absolutely we do have several customers that have that kind of like they have Kafka running in the factory itself. And then so that's the kind of situation where lenses is absolutely going to come and be very handy for that sort of thing, because you know maybe you set up a SQL processor at the edge that only sends back that just sends back the an aggregation of the data that's actually living at the edge, or you want to be able to view that data at the edge, all the way from the other side of the world. Lenses could allow you to be able to peek into that data
Mm.
within the factory. So we are seeing more and more of that. There there there's customers that run Kubernetes on a cruise ship, and they have Kafka and Kubernetes and Cassandra on their cruise ship. So I don't know how much more edge you can get than that, but that's my idea of edge anyway. If I'm gonna have to go out on an assignment to the edge, let it be a cruise ship.
Yeah, a floating city, basically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we touched a bit on the AI topic, and also we said we wanted to talk a bit about replication. Like, what do we want to? Where do we want to continue?
So let me just talk quickly about. Just want to cover consumers because I know
Okay.
we
Yeah.
promised that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I'll get to our roadmap. So lenses gives you a very similar view like we saw for topology and connectors. It gives you a similar view for consumers, so you can see like this consumer's in big trouble. It
Mm.
has got a serious lag going. But if I toggle this and show the inactive consumers, so this one here is actually completely, it's not even running. So I can come in and I can work with this consumer from here. I can view the offsets. I can even adjust the offsets for consumers all from within this view. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that. That's one of the key troubleshooting problems that are out there. But then I'd be happy to kind of come back to
Uh,
roadmap
I
stuff.
think that makes sense because, like, when you are in charge of the application, this is most likely one of the first things that you're looking at, right? What's my lag doing? Is this even growing? Like, where's the?
Yes. And lenses will allow you to actually create alerts for consumer
Okay.
lag. So you can come over and create what are called consumer rules. And basically, allows you to say, all right, if my lag gets to be greater than 1,000, send a alert pager duty, send a Slack message, make a Jira ticket. All the different webhook things that are out there. Lenses would do that for you. Send it to Splunk, send it to wherever. Um,
Okay, that's awesome.
yeah. So if it's nice that if your consumer starts lagging at midnight, you'll get a notification, and so you can take care of it first thing in the morning. So yeah, that's
That makes sense. Yeah,
yeah,
because that is super annoying. Like,
yes,
not just finding the problem, but actually being notified early that something is happening.
yeah, and you've picked the threshold. Like if you're really sensitive, this thing should never be more than 1,000 offsets behind. You set your alert to 999, or however
Mm.
you want to make it. We have I shouldn't have switched over so quick because we do have alerts for the other side as well. uh, we have data producer alerts. So you could say, if I expect this producer to produce about 5,000 topics a day and has only produced five, lenses can alert you about that too. So we got it going on. We can alert you on both ends of
Okay, that
of
makes
this
sense
process.
because it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because it could be another team that actually messes something up, and they're not sending you the data, and then you would run around and would try to
Yeah.
find where's the problem, but it's actually not even you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that
yeah. Like
makes a lot of
what
sense.
why are my consumers, all so very quiet? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, we get you on both sides. But yeah, for like the last 5 minutes here, I can talk about some roadmap things. So the biggest one that I actually have a slide for is our AI agents. So you could have an SRE agent that is going through your data and looking for poison pills. You can have a data classification agent. Like all the different things I demoed humans doing in lenses. We're gonna be building AI agents around that. But the other really big one, and unfortunately I don't have a slide for it, is we have a separate product that we're working on that uh, it's not based on Mirror Maker. But it's a big upgrade to Mirror Maker. So if you're not familiar, Mirror Maker is an open source um, project that allows you to duplicate topics from one Kafka cluster to another. So, if you need disaster recovery, or you're migrating, you're moving from Strimzi to MSK or whatever. Um, Mirror Maker was designed to allow you to do that. Mirror Maker is not a very friendly thing. It doesn't have a nice UI. So we're
Mm.
building this thing called K2K, which is a separate product, but you could use it from within the Lenses UI, or you can use it standalone. So those are our two big roadmap items that we're working on right now, that besides just improving Lenses itself, K2K and Lenses AI agents. Um, and yeah, you can go to the webpage. Actually, K2K is in beta preview right now, so
Mm.
you could even go to the webpage and download that. The other thing is we have what's called Lenses Community Edition. It is a completely free version of Lenses. You can only have two clusters connected, so that's
Okay,
kind of the throttling there, but it is completely free forever. So if you want to try out Lenses on your dev cluster,
that's
uh, you're
awesome.
you're more than welcome to do it. We have This is the Docker Compose, because it's quick and easy, but we have good Helm charts for it as well. It'll run on a VM. So
Yeah, I think we have that. We put that in the description of the video.
yes,
So if
yeah,
somebody just wants to share this and go into the description, just copy it in the chat. That would be also very cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I mean, it's a good start for somebody who, like, a company that is just starting out and trying to, like,
It, yeah,
figure out.
if you're new to Kafka, try Kafka and then run the community edition on top of it, and you'll get so much more out of Kafka. Your developers will work with it much more quickly if they have a tool like this yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and most likely then switch it off and see how much you struggle.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and reach out to me on LinkedIn, or we have a community Slack. If you're having trouble setting up Community Edition, or you want more questions, find me on LinkedIn, or join our community Slack and find me there. I'd be happy to answer other questions going forward. And yeah.
Yeah. I think we're. I'm going to look if I can pop in your LinkedIn also in the description. I think we
Okay.
didn't put that in there yet. But yeah, uh, Drew, thank you very much. This was super, super interesting.
Oh, thanks for having me, Andreas. I hope I didn't. Yeah, I hope I didn't talk too much. So.
No, for me, this kind of things, because I started when this was just like old school where you didn't have all these tools. And I know the struggle when you don't have something like lenses.
Yeah.
I'm always like blown away how nowadays stuff is done.
Yeah, it's
super
cool.
cool to learn.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, I enjoy working for Lenses quite a bit. It's we have customers. Yeah, they really appreciate it. When they have it, it's something that genuinely makes their life easier. So, I used to work for Splunk, and that was something I've always enjoyed about working for Splunk too. So,
Nice. Yeah. Thank you again.
all right.
Everybody, go in the description, check it out. We have the link there. And then, Drew,
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank
Please
you
stay
so
with
much.
me for a second after I
Sure.
click end the stream.
Yeah.
End the stream. And then, yeah, see you everybody. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks.